just get straight into it then.
Yeah, man.
We'll go into
Let's go.
our favourite albums of the year 2023. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. Don't
Go
matter. My favourite album of the year was by Skyzoo and the other guys called The Mind of a Saint. And if you're a fan of Snowfall, it's literally where he, it's like a soundtrack to Snowfall. And for me, that's just been the best hip hop album of the year, man. Storytelling on that was amazing to me. The way he was able to kind of just paint the pictures, and obviously because I've seen every episode and stuff, and I'm a really big Snowfall fan, I think it just hit me even more so, man. And even though it didn't, I think it got released before the last season. So for me, I guess watching it all, including the last season, for some reason, it just kind of made me appreciate even more, even though he didn't touch on the last season, but that just kind of highlighted how creative it was, because he was speaking about things that was pure assumption in relation to how we thought it was going to end and stuff. So yeah, for me, that was just the best album of the year, man. I love like albums that are focused on like a single topic or theme. And he was able to do that very well, man. So big up Skyzoo, my favorite album of the year. Black Thought, he drops an album called Glorious Game with El Michel's Affairs. Yeah, that was fucking fire. That was an amazing album, man. From production to, I mean, with Black Thought, you're always going to get amazing like a lyrical performance in it. But I think the concern for me outside of the roots was always like what sort of production would sound good for him. And El Michel's production definitely suited him. So yeah, that was an amazing album for me. J Huss's album, Beautiful and Brutal Yard, I loved it. I loved it, man. I know we reviewed it, quite in depth. And there's been a lot of conversation about it as well in relation to maybe some people not feeling as though it lived up to expectation. And that for me, that album was fire. So I love that album. And that was a moment, man, for someone that kind of jumped on the J Huss train kind of late.
Incredibly late.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was just about to say kinda.
There's no need for that.
Yeah,
there's no need for that.
I just want the record to show.
This guy
Anyway,
was about 60.
I appreciate it, and I loved that album. Mac Homie and the God Fahim dropped an album called Notorious Dump Legends Volume 2, which is some real underground shit, and it was just fire from front to back. And then my last album on my list is Mick Jenkins' The Patience, which I thought was a flawless album as well. I've been a Mick Jenkins fan for a minute now. And I think he's just getting better with every project, to be honest with you. And it was a surprise because I didn't know that he was even going to drop anything this year. So yeah, that makes up my five, man. I thought that album was fire, man. So yeah.
First.
Yeah, very under the underground as per usual.
You think so? All of them?
Majority of them.
Majority of them, yeah.
Majority
I
of
think
them,
Huss is probably the only one that is.
That's the only mainstream one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say. I mean, Black Thought and El Michel.
Actually, Black Thought.
Probably not. I mean, like, Black Thought's in this kind of weird space where it's like he's not necessarily underground, but he's not mainstream either. So he's probably, maybe he's more mainstream.
He's more mainstream,
I'm
but
not sure.
Yeah.
But
out of all the names, apart from Huss, probably.
Killer
He's
Mike's
probably
a
more
document,
mainstream.
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mick Jenkins definitely isn't. I mean, Mac Homie and the God Fahim.
The album title says it all, by the way.
You're not going to see them topping the charts.
The
so
album
Exactly.
title says
An
it.
honourable mention to Avelino and Pot Paper.
Don't take it away from me, please.
They dropped 2 dope projects as well that could have easily made this cut.
I've
But
got
I
Avelino.
found myself going back to these ones way more than any others. So yeah, man, big up these, man.
Feel you.
Do you want me to go?
No.
So House we agree on. Beautiful Brutal Yard. I've got Avelino, God Save the Streets. That was my favorite UK album of the year. Like that. It's actually my top. Yeah, it's my top 5 album of the year in general. But I prefer that album to Huss's album. Avelino's album, and this was the first Avelino album I've sat on ones before, but this is the first one where I really sat and took in. And I still remember that feeling I had when we first listened, when we all first listened to it for the podcast. That album is exquisite for me. Like it genuinely is. He's talking to the streets. He's talking to everyone. Yeah. So Avelino to me has got my favorite UK album of the year. So naturally it will be my top 5 combined anyway, regardless. So I'm gonna go Huss, Beautiful Brutal Yard, Avelino, God Save the Streets. I've gone Killer Michael. I was rinsing that album on the way to coming back as well and going there as well. It's the first track on that album, the Scientist song, just kick starts on a mad thing. Like that Killer Mike, I don't know if you guys have sat on it yet.
Yeah, I listened to it.
That Killer Mike album. Killer Mike knows how to make albums though. Like he knows how to make bodies of work. So Killer Michael's gonna be there for me. I've got Little Durk, Almost Healed as well.
Yuck.
Can we not look down on people's album of the year?
Sorry,
It's just
sorry,
not good.
sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry.
That was crazy.
Do you want everyone to just agree with you on the podcast?
Nah, not at all.
Then in that case,
I'm
can I
allowed to
speak?
say yuck.
No, you can't. Because when you said, what did you say again? What did you say?
Macomi and the God Fahim.
The God Fahim. If I like, what album is called the God Fahim? Is this look like 1965 to you?
It's called. He's a rapper.
The
God Fahim. Yeah, man.
Astaghfirullah. I'm a Muslim. The hell, the God Fahim. Get that off the roads, wallahi. Don't make me cut your rappers, please. The God Fahim, you know. Start off something small. Man, go straight to God. But anyway, I digress. Lil Durk, Almost Healed. If you look at my Spotify rap, there's a song on Almost Healed that's my favorite song of the year. It's called Peleco. That was my most played song of the year. Like, Almost Healed. I'm a Lil Durk fan. Like, there's no two ways to hide it. Like, Lil Durk, I'm genuinely a Lil Durk fan. And he got busy on this album. Like, he actually got busy on this album. He was rapping at the highest level I've seen him rap. Not to say it's a high level of rap, but it was high enough for me to appreciate
The
it.
disclaimer was crazy.
Yeah, because I'm just like, it's the best I've seen him rap, but that's not to say the God Fahim level of rap. But like, he got busy. And then last album I'm going is Larry June, Night Shift as well.
The one with Carlo.
Yeah, with Carlo. I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm a Larry June fan. I think I mentioned it before on the podcast as well. It gave me what I wanted. So yeah, Larry June, Night Shift with Carlo, Killer Mike, Michael, Little Durk, Almost Healed, Avelino, God Save the Streets, and J Hus, Beautiful Brutal Yard.
Yeah, yours is very much a mixture as well. Like, obviously, Lil Durk is mainstream. J Hus, Killer Mike, no, not necessarily.
Yeah. And Larry June, I don't count as mainstream.
No,
No,
June's
he's
not
underground.
So 2 underground, 3 mainstream. It's all right. Avelino?
He's kind of in the middle as well, I'd say.
I'd say so.
Kind of
as
in the
well.
middle as well.
Yeah.
Maybe closer to the underground.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good mixture.
Thank you very much, sir. What's your top 5?
My top
Or
5.
Whichever.
So, man, my one, I've really struggled to name a favorite one album because there are at least 3 in mind that I've just banged out consistently since they dropped. And they were very much dictated by certain times of the year. So for the album that I kind of banged out pretty much throughout springtime, Larry June and The Alchemist, The Great Escape. Yeah, man. I mean, Larry June, I really got into Larry June last year. And I really liked his style, the way he just raps. And him joining up with The Alchemist, man, match made in heaven. Like, Larry June doesn't necessarily make luxury rap, but when he raps over Alchemist beats, it sounds like luxury rap. Like, he'll make drinking orange juice and investing in stocks and bonds sound like the most jiggy shit. And The Alchemist did not come to play either. Like, he dusted off his pen. He even rapped on 60 Days. The beats were crazy. The features were great. Yeah, man, it was lovely. It was one of those ones to kind of soundtrack just before summer. And yeah, man, I just couldn't put it down. So yeah, got The Great Escape in there. For my summer album, towards the end of summer, Travis Scott, Utopia. I've had a bit of a weird relationship with Travis Scott recently because off the back of the Astroworld disaster, it felt kind of weird to listen to him.
Why?
Like, because although I'm not necessarily blaming him for what happened, I didn't feel comfortable listening to an artist that had happened to. I kind of needed a break because it was like trying to process what happened and having his name attached to such a tragedy. I was like, yeah, I can't really. I wasn't really feeling it. But then I learned that he was dropping a new album, and I thought, okay, cool. Let me just check it out, see what he's saying. And it was amazing, man. It was amazing. I mean, he just has this knack of creating worlds with his music. Like, the way it's just like so like experimental, it's metallic, industrial in some places. The features came to play, like 21 Savage, James Blake, even Drake. Like, they all were like...
Even Drake.
Yeah, even Drake. Because even him, like on his Meltdown verse, he was rapping like the boy. He was rapping like the Drake I want. And the less said about what happened after, the better.
Rapping like the boy at 36 years old ain't the same.
No, but the boy, it's like it's like K-Dot, right?
Yeah.
It's like an alter ego. When Drake becomes the boy, he's almost unplayable.
Imagine your alter ego being called the boy.
I mean,
Come on, man.
something like that.
He thinks he's so
Anyway, yeah, so it was just an incredible album. I think as soon as I put it on, every time I'm just transported to his world where it's just like so, like, I feel like I'm in heaven sometimes. It's actually kind of crazy. Like he has a skill that a lot of people and artists in rap these days don't really have, as far as like having a really signature sound. And the fact that he actually produced a lot of this album as well, as opposed to previous albums where he's had a lot of help, like that, increases in my estimation. So yeah, had to put Utopia in there. For this kind of period, my winter album, Cass is Dead, famous last words. Cass is Dead is one of my favorite UK rappers. He's kind of been MIA for the last like decade. Like he's only really dropped one project and then one cassette after. But yeah, man, it was worth the wait. Like he's a bit like Travis Scott as well, where he can kind of create this kind of world where it's like it's science fiction mixed with a little bit of like, you know, old school 1940s like femme fatale type dramas where he's dealing with a woman who's constantly problematic and stuff. He's got just a knack with telling stories. And yeah, man, synthy, 80s style. Like you could just be with a diamond in the back, sunroof, top, all that shit. Like you can play his music and it just fits. Like it's so dope. So he raps that all together in his own way. And yeah, it was just amazing from front to back. And then I've also got Avellino, God Save the Streets. That's my favorite UK album of the year. Yeah, I think similar to Peter, like when there's a theme and a concept and it's done well, like I think Avellino did that concept of like the guy who was in the roads and kind of became, you know, he kind of got like knowledge of self and kind of worked his way out of it and became a better person because of it. He did it really well. I think it's a very universal story that he executed greatly. Lyrics were on point, production was on point, features as well. You know, Wretch with his Sermon on the Mount, I appreciated it. It was great. And yeah, man, Avellino was very strong effort. I feel like with Avellino, he came into it kind of being a bit like, okay, yeah, I know you can rap well, but I've yet to really see like a real body of work from you. And he delivered it. And for a debut album, yeah, I couldn't ask for much more. So shout out to Avellino. And finally, I've got another Alchemist produced album, this time with Wiki and Mike, Faith as a Rock. Yeah, man, when I listen to this album, I feel like I'm just walking through New York City. It feels like very cold, but in a good way. Wiki and Mike, they bounce off each other like crazy. Wiki has improved a lot lyrically, I'd say, from when he was doing like Rat King and stuff. He's always been a good rapper, but I feel like he reached a new height with The Alchemist and Mike. And Mike, yeah, man, Mike is not necessarily everyone's cup of tea. Like he's very much from that Earl Sweatshirt, like tree, but when you actually deep what he's saying, yeah, man, it's very introspective. It's very broody. He's got away with words, and yeah, man, it was just really dope. Like I found myself going back to, especially the first track, Stargaze. Like it was just a movie to me. So yeah, man, I gotta salute them as well. And yeah, that's my top 5. Very much, I think Travis Scott's probably the only mainstream one I got.
Yeah,
but yeah, those are the ones I just couldn't put down. So salute to those.
You ain't
guys.
got no Nas albums in there.
No. As much as I liked Magic 3, I wasn't the biggest fan of Magic 2. I thought it was decent, but I didn't think it was amazing. And Magic 3, while all right, it was cool. I don't think it was as
cool.
strong. Yeah. I don't think it was as strong as the others that I've mentioned as well. And there are probably other like honorable mentions that I could mention, like Mick Jenkins. I really liked Mick Jenkins. Mike also dropped another album called Burning Desire. Huss, I mean, it was cool. I wouldn't say it was my favorite, but it was still cool. But yeah, there were just other albums that I just loved way more than anything by Nas or Huss or any of the big hitters as well. I want another honorable mention to Heady 1 and K-Trap as well, because that's a strength to strength. That's a tape I
Part of Paper's my honourable mention.
Yeah, I hear
Part
that.
is definitely my honourable mention.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that's the UK album of the year.
Yeah, Part would be my honourable mention, definitely. So that was a nice body of work.